Good morning. What is going on, everybody? We are doing Stylist from the Back Room today solo. I have the stream all to myself, which means I get to have fun the way I want to have fun. I get to talk about the stuff I want to talk about, and I get to derail myself. John is not here this week to keep me under check. So, any of you tuning in, it would be helpful if you could keep me in check. With that said, I got a couple of announcements that I need to make real quick. For those of you signed up for May 19th, which we're going to be in Downers Grove for our Ultimate CE Education event, you need to check your emails. There's a lot of information in there that you need to follow for that event. So definitely be on top of that. The other thing that you need to do is if you still need hours and you're looking for help, reach out to us, let us know, get on our waiting list. You never know, sometimes somebody might need to reschedule or somebody not be able to make it last minute, and we can have openings. So with that said, keep that in mind as well too, yeah? The other housekeeping note to make is about our website. I do all the technical things by myself today. All right. The other thing to note is housekeeping. Our website is getting updated at htbbeauty.com. So definitely keep coming back to the website and checking it out. There's always going to be changes and updates being made over there. htbbeauty.com will keep you up to date with everything we got going on. All right. With that said, no quiz this week. I don't think it would make any sense to quiz myself if I'm coming up with the questions and answering them myself. That would just be goofy as hell. So we're not going to do that one. What we are going to do, though, is talk about what is coming up and what we are doing for the spring. This past weekend was America's Beauty Show, and walking around through the show and having the meetings that I had there, it led me to believe that we are in a great time to be able to become very creative very quickly. It also shows me some concern that we are kind of unprepared. And what do I mean by that is, I think we're all going with the flow right now. We're just kind of cruising along. I think we're very distracted. What we need to do is really double down now more than any time ever and focus on what is coming up and how we need to approach it. All right. The nice thing about the springtime and the change of the seasons that we're in right now is that everybody craves change. Everybody wants something new. Everybody wants something different. Clients are going to start going away for trips and vacation. We just had spring break. So, we saw that a lot of people wanted to do fun stuff. When your clients are coming back from spring break, more likely than not, their hair is going to be a hot mess. I've just been teaching hair extension classes all weekend long. It's just been one after another after another. I got another one after this. Something that I've noticed is the volume and fullness that everybody wants. Hair extensions is the easiest solution for all of that. It's such a simple, easy solution for all that. The other thing that I'm noticing, which is becoming a bigger concern week after week, day after day, is shedding. Shedding, we are seeing hair shedding on an unprecedented level, okay? And we can explain it for the most unfortunate reasons. There's a lot more illness out there. There is a lot more stress out there. And I keep kind of hinting at this. This is a good thing. A lot of people are losing weight, but they're doing it under assistance. They're not doing it under working out. And what do I mean by that nicely? I'm trying to say this as nice as possible. They're being prescribed medications for weight loss. And I'm all for it. It's just, you got to understand that everything is a trade-off. There is a shock to the system that's occurring. It's awesome to be losing a lot of weight that quickly, but you got to keep up with your body too. You have to listen to your body and you got to balance it out. You got to make sure that you're not freaking out. Your body's not freaking out. A lot of the times when we see a change in our hair, especially in our hair, and or when you see a change in your nails, Your body is just trying to tell you something that it can't use words. Okay. There is an imbalance. There's a little bit of an imbalance. So you got to pay attention to yourself. All right. With the PSA out of the way, as far as spring hair goes, I made myself a couple of notes. There was a lot of things to cover. I seen a lot of things coming out. And I'm just going to take them one by one, not in any particular order. I think it's going to be fun just to kind of go over through it and talk about it. And let's start with styling, because why not? The midi shag. Okay, with the midi shag is basically medium length hair, collarbone, shoulder to collarbone, somewhere in between here. All right. Excuse me. That's mid-length hair. It's fun. This season is all about movement, all about natural flow and movement. And that's freaking beautiful. I love that, because that just tells me that a lot of clients are going to be focusing on blow drying and styling and putting themselves together with an outfit. I was talking with Bernard on the Profitable Stylist podcast, and his wife Vincy gave this great advice, which I absolutely love. You got to look at 5 parts of your body when you put yourself together: your hair, your makeup or your face, your top clothes, your like your top half of your clothing, the bottom half of your clothing, and your shoes. And the advice that she has was, you could be lazy on any 2 out of that 5, but those 2 cannot touch. So if you have a lazy hair day, you have to do your face. You have to do the top, of your shirt. Then you can have lazy pants or lazy shoes, or dress down. If you don't want to say lazy, you could say you could dress down on your shoes, but then you got to wear fancy pants or better pants and a better top. You can't have, scrubs and flip-flops. That just looks way too sloppy, way too messy. So with the styles and the hair for this season coming up, I think it's going to be awesome in such a way that having mid-length hair with all about movement is going to force people to style their hair, which means you have to be diligent in recommending the right products for your clients to be able to maintain that kind of hair. So I think that's really awesome. You could dress up a shag with bangs too. You could do fringe bangs. You could do curtain bangs. It doesn't all have to be the traditional flow. Okay. So you could kind of square it off. That's especially comfortable and nice for clients who wear glasses all the time. One of the most annoying things is when you've got glasses on and then the hair is kind of stuck underneath the frames and you're trying to push it out all the time, or when the hair is going over the glasses and it's covering it all up. You got those nice frames. You want to be able to show them off. So just think about that. Fringe and framing, fringe and bangs to go along with enhancing or modifying, the classic shag. So that's one style that we see coming up, which I think is going to be pretty fun. Another one that's coming up is the bob. The bob is one of those timeless classic styles. Okay. There's so many variations of it, but it fits all hair types. It fits all clients, all styles out there. It's one of my all-time favorite, especially the A-line when it's shorter in the back and a little bit longer to the front. That stacked, that layered bob is freaking awesome, right? That's just personally my opinion. But for this season in particular, a one-length bob with very soft curving under or very soft layering. You can go as heavy as you want. You can go as extreme as you want too. I'm just saying it's really, really nice to see. Again, we're just talking about everything with natural movement, So nothing too crazy with the layering, nothing too heavy with the layering. You can if you want, but the style specifically is going to be soft layering. You're going to need polishing products to enhance that nice curve in the hair and that nice shape. The other thing you got to be mindful of, the thing with the bob, see, the shag is fun. Go, just rewind for a second. The shag is fun because there's so many layers, there's so many movements. You could pretty much do anything you want. And because it's supposed to be a lot of different lengths all combined to create one overall look, you can kind of hide discrepancies in the hair. Now come back to the bob. It's such a smooth, polished look that it's going to show off the porosity in the hair or the lack of porosity in the hair. So if you're having little frizzies, if you're having little flyaways, if you have a little bit damage through the hair, that's going to be a little bit tricky to hide that. You're not going to be able to hide it so good. So you're going to need some kind of finishing, some kind of polishing product. If you're using serums and or oils, it's really nice to show off the gloss into the hair, right? But I don't know why this particular week I've been having this conversation over and over and over with everybody for various reasons. There is a huge difference between a styling serum and a treatment oil. Treatment oils are designed to be heavy. They're treatments. They're trying to go into your hair to penetrate, to rejuvenate, okay? So treatment oils, if you overuse it, is going to sit heavy. Whereas a gloss serum, a shine serum, even a treatment serum is going to absorb. It's not going to sit as heavy as an oil is. It's going to absorb. And because of that, it doesn't get as greasy or as heavy. It's not going to weigh the hair down as much. All right. So especially a little bit for frizzies and flyaways. Here's a fun fact. I just thought about this too. Frizzies and flyaways is because there's not enough moisture in that section of the hair. So it's either creating static electricity because the hair is rubbing against itself. It'd be like if you rub your hands together and touch, something, or if you rub your socks against the carpet when you're walking and then you go flip the light switch, you kind of zap yourself. That's what's happening in the hair. You've perfectly dried, blow dried so much that you've actually dried out that section way too much. Yeah. And then the hair is rubbing against itself. It's creating a little bit of a static. So that's what it's sticking up like that. And then no matter how much you try to push it down, it just makes it stick up further and further and further. The other thing that happens is flyaways. Frizzy flyaways can be from lack of moisture. And then if there's humidity in the air around you, the hair is going to start growing big, big, big. Think about curly hair. You see that a lot with curly hair, right? So quick hack. It's going to sound weird. Just lightly mist a little bit of water back onto your hair. Of course, we talk about products all the time. And products really is the answer. But if you're in a meeting, if you're at the office, if you're outside, I don't know, wherever you are, and you don't have access to a brush and you should always be walking around with a brush in your purse. If you don't have access to a blow dryer and a round brush and a mirror where you could properly style your hair, usually everybody's walking around with a bottle of water. So all you do is just real quick, run it through your hands, through your fingers, and just kind of calm it down, wipe it down. That's a quick hack to eliminate since I got this open. That's a quick hack to eliminate little frizzies and flyaways. Otherwise, the reason why products work better is because they are specifically designed and formulated for that purpose. They're specifically designed to restore quickly in a flash the hydration to that section that's lacking, okay? Or it's designed to bind that little static down, break the electric charge that's causing the static from the friction and bind it back down to the other hairs around it. So that's why we're always harping on products all the time, okay? It's not necessarily about the sales and the monies. It's about making you look your best at all times and having that best show throughout the day nonstop. That's really what products is about more than anything else. All right. Next, where's my notes? Next, we got airy layers. All right. I don't know who names these things. I have no idea who names these things. But this is what we got. So airy layers, what does that mean? Light flowing layers. The difference between that and a shag. Shag is layering in different tiers with a purpose. Having a bob has a blunt design line, okay? A blunt weight line. And layering over that is, again, with a purpose. Whereas airy layers You can have really long hair. You can have really mid-length hair. You can have chin-length hair. It doesn't matter what length your hair is at. But having it all just be one length just makes it, aside from a bob, I'm talking about longer hair, okay? Uh, it just sits flat. It just sits dead, especially for those of you who don't like getting haircuts often. There is this thing where women will come into the salon for color, and they'll come in very often for color. And I'll say, okay, well, how much are we going to cut today? Oh, no. I just want my color done. I don't want to lose any length. I don't want a haircut. Well, hold up. You got this much dead ends, okay? This is not length. Your length is actually up here. You've got this much dead ends going on. No. That's length. That's length. I finally got it to reach that far down. I love it. When you're not cutting your hair often and you've got all of that length like that, it doesn't matter how much color you do, and it doesn't matter how much moisturizing and deep conditioning you're doing. You can only mend so much of the hair back together, okay? If that hair is dead, if that hair is fried, if that hair is split at the ends, it's got to go. There is no coming back from that. It's got to go. So the way to prevent that, if you're dead set on keeping that length, go in and layer it out throughout. So at least this way, you don't just have it all one length looking like a mop on your head, okay? The other nice thing about that is if you are getting regular haircuts, just do some point cutting on the ends. You don't have to cut a blunt line. Just do point cutting on the ends, have fun with it, and just grab hair from the front and a little bit of hair from the crown area right at the top here, and just go in and layer that. Do it with slide cutting too. Airy layers is all about movement. This season is all about movement. The other nice thing about doing that kind of layering, you go in with kind of volumizing products, whether it's a mousse, a root boost spray, any kind of setting lotion, anything that'll give you volume, right? Fullness. It's perfect because those shorter layers are not as long, so they don't weigh as much. They'll be able to add to the style. So then this way it doesn't look like it's all just sitting so flat. All right. What do we got next? Where are we at here? The modern pixie or micro bangs. Okay. The pixie in itself is such a short cropped haircut. If you've got that kind of an attitude where you can pull that off, it's so freaking fun. And whether you want to comb it nice and smooth or whether you want to kind of toss it to make it messy and looking all over the place, anything goes. That's the cool thing about the pixie. Anything goes. You can even do half and half too. You could kind of mess up the back and get the front nice and smoothened out and polished. That's cool as hell too. It doesn't work the other way around. What you don't want to do is have the front be all crazy and having the back look nice and smooth and flattened out. That just kind of looks like bedhead. It looks like you was laying down, taking a rest, taking a nap, and you just woke up, okay? So if you're going to do a half and half, you got to toss the back. You got to have the front be nice and smoothened out. Anything like a pomade or a gel works really, really well with that kind of a style. Really, really fantastic for that kind of a style. Okay. Even hairsprays. The pixie cut is one of those where I'll even be down to be using a spritz spray. Been using spritz spray and setting lotions lately, and it's been really fun. Not just relying on an aerosol hairspray all the time. So that's been really, really fun. Yeah, now that I'm saying that out loud, the kiwi spray and the raspberry spray from All Nutrient, those are non-aerosol, and kiwi is raspberry is restorative, kiwi is hydrating. So this way you're getting a little bit of conditioning into your hair at the same time that you're spraying hold into your hair as well too. So that's pretty fun. And then this is something I don't know if everybody talks enough about this or not, but braids. I freaking love braids. Okay. And I don't care if you're doing a full head braid. I don't care if you're doing design braids. I don't care if you're just doing, a couple of braids down on the side, or if you're doing pigtails, or if you're doing one mohawk braid. I love the one mohawk braid. I think the fishtail should come back with a vengeance. Especially the fishtail is not an easy one to pull off, but man, is that one of my favorite ones to see on a woman. That and the Viking braid is pretty much my two all-time favorite ones. I love seeing all of them, but if I have to choose, those are my two favorite ones. I love seeing a beautiful polished blow dry style, and then having one or two purposefully braids hanging down on the side just to kind of frame up the face and accent the face. Oh man, it's sexy. It's hot. That's really, really hot. I freaking love that. Okay. The other nice thing about a braid is if you don't have full head braid, or if you don't have design braids or cornrows going on or anything, if you're just having, a style with a couple of braids on each side or on the one side, it's especially fun when you pull your hair up into a bun and you incorporate that braid around it and through it. Oh, that is cool. That is really, really cool. So now you're dressing up a messy hairstyle instantly, immediately, without having to do much work. Sometimes the simplest things is the easiest things. Okay. Simple is best. I just thought of something too. If your hair is all down and you're just having one of those days and you're about to put it all up in a bun, I mean, you could literally take your own hair and give yourself an invisible braid, like a 3-strand braid, really, really quick. Just the fact that you try to do a little bit of something rather than just pulling it all up on top of your head and make it like a bun and then wrap that around over it, at least you're trying to do something. Okay. Dressing, it does not take a lot to dress up. It really, really doesn't have to be a whole big to do to dress yourself up. So that's the styles for the spring. That's the hairstyles for the spring, haircuts and hairstyles for the spring. I think it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be really, really fun. All right, let's talk color. First thing on the list, again, in no particular order whatsoever, apricot blondes. So apricot blondes, what we're seeing is the past couple of summers have been really, really heavy on platinum and ash as possible. Absolutely zero warmth, no warmth. Okay. Everybody was trying to be as white as a piece of paper, and it was insane. It was a lot of processing, a lot of processing being done to the hair. So there was a lot of conditioning treatments being thrown around and flying around. And this is something that people don't understand. Having platinum blonde is fun. It's super cool. Oh, well, no pun intended. It is cool toned. The problem with it, though, it is a fantasy hair color. That is not a natural hair color. Nobody naturally has platinum blonde white hair. The only people that do have that are older people that are going gray, that don't have any pigment left in their hair, and they're coming into the salon to get it covered up. So it was mind-blowing to me to see everybody in such a rush to get their hair light and platinum blonde and actually pay for that. It's like, just wait 10 more years, love. You're gonna be it, okay? Whether you're ready for it or not, it's gonna happen. But as it goes, it's not a sustainable thing. Staying fantasy hair color for that long is not a sustainable thing at all. And so now everybody's hair is starting to break off. Hair extensions is at an all-time freaking high year over year. It just keeps outdoing itself. And at the trend that hair extensions are going with, it's going to continue to outdo itself. And that's what leads us to a lot of this season's colors. We're going to see them moving into warmer tones because everybody's hair freaking broke off. So It's just the natural progression of things. Okay. Everything goes in a cycle. We'll be back to platinum blonde again in a couple of seasons once everybody has a rest. So this is where apricot blonde comes in. It's a mixture of golds, primarily golden tones, with hints of warmth, hints of reds, hints of coppers. Okay, just very, very soft hints of it. And what's nice about that is a lot of people struggle with lightening. And a lot of people's hair that wanted the platinum blondes, they couldn't get platinum blonde. Their hair was just too dark or it wouldn't lighten enough. There's also a large sect of stylists out there that refuse to use high volume developers because they truly believe that it will damage the hair. Okay. I think there's a disconnect between lightening hair and bleaching hair with high volume developers versus coloring hair with high volume developers. Coloring hair with high volume developers obviously works and everybody's all for it because they think that's safer. The thing is, if you're using a high level color, even if you're using a level 10 or a high lift, and even if you're using it with 40 volume, that's still only up to 4 levels, and that's still only dependent on how that color is going to react with the natural color. Okay. Permanent color is not designed to blonde out the hair. It's designed to remove the natural pigment in the hair and just kind of replace it with something else. It has to do 2 actions. It has to lift and it has to deposit. This is why lighteners and bleaches are so much more important. They just have one job. Get rid of all the pigment out of the hair and get it light. And of course, if you over lighten, if you over bleach, yeah, you're going to break the hair, sure. But if you're doing it purposefully and you're watching it and you're being on top of it, there's nothing wrong with doing that. It's the only way to do it. This is why toners matter. Okay. It completes the lightening process. There's also, and I was guilty of this for a long time too. There is this idea that, oh, I'll just lift it to the level I want with lighteners or with bleaches. And then that's it. I'm done. I don't need to tone it afterwards. It's a waste of time. It's an extra step that's unnecessary. You need to complete that process somehow. When we do it with color, it's self-contained. It does it by itself. When we do it with lighteners and bleaches, that's just one. We're a la carting. We're dividing the steps out. So not to harp on that for too long. This isn't a color class. But when you're lifting and lightening, if there's a little bit of brassiness left over, you don't have to be freaking out about it. Okay. If there's a little bit more warmth left over than you wanted to, you got apricot blonde. So you take a level 8 or a level 9 gold color, like an 8 or 9G, and you can just enhance the brassiness, the contributing pigment that showed up. Or you could purposefully throw a couple of grams of a copper or a red or a violet or a red violet or a scarlet or anything else in there just to add in a little bit more of that strawberry blonde tone. Excuse me. So that's really, really nice. The copper rose color, we've called it cowboy copper. We've called it calico copper. Now we're calling it copper rose. That copper tones is going to be, it's a staple now at this point. Okay. We are 4 summers in, and that is still a very hot trending color. And it is freaking awesome. Easiest way to do it is to take a level 10 gold, take a level 8 binder, like an in-between color. So a golden brown, a rose gold color, a yellow orange base, all nutrient. Yeah, I'm an all nutrient user. I love all nutrient hair color. So all nutrient has 8S. That's Sun Poppy. It's freaking amazing. Okay, so I take 10G, I take my level 8 binder, and then I take my target shade that I want, whether it's an intense copper, a red, or a red violet. And I'm always measuring in grams because it's the easiest way to do it. You can really control everything very, very nicely. You could do 25 grams of 10G, 4 grams of 8S, and then you could do 1 gram of whatever the target tone you want it to be. That equals 30 grams. For the sake of math in the beauty industry, we always say just say 30 grams is 1 ounce. And if you're trying to convert colors or formulas for that matter, it's the easiest way to convert formulas. Okay. I know technically 30 grams is not 1 ounce, but math. Okay. Math. And 1 gram makes a total difference in a formula. At the same time, you can adjust it. Now, how do you do that in ounces? I have no freaking idea. The measurements are too much in, they're too big. Unless you're using a scale, then you got like 0.1, 0.2, all the way up to 10. I guess you could do it that way. But measuring in grams is such a more precise unit of measurement using a color scale. And you can make those adjustments to customize the look for your clients so much easier. I digress. Copper rose, okay? Copper rose. That's what we're calling Cowboy Copper this season. All right. Pastel misting. What's amazing about this is when people were doing the platinum blondes, some of the how you call it? Some of the blondes, you know, some of the people, their hair naturally was so dark. Like imagine trying to take me to a platinum blonde, right? It's not going to work. So you have to overcompensate. You have to overtone. By the time you get me to a blonde stage, I'm going to look like a canary. I'm going to be screaming yellow so hard. I'm going to look like a highlighter. So to overcompensate for that, we were toning and the porosity of the hair was so messed up. We were toning so hard that you would see a little bit of a blue hue or a violet hue in the hair. And we were just playing that off as meant to be type thing, right? Type situation. Well, the nice thing about fantasy color is you don't know what you're supposed to look like. Nobody told you what you're supposed to look like. So if you're pretty, if you do yourself up, and you got that looking like that, it makes it look like that's what you wanted. Not that was a mistake and the porosity grabbed too much. Pastel misting is just taking that and now it's making it into a thing. You are purposefully overtoning your hair. So for those of you that still want to be super blonde, super light, go for it. Okay? Absolutely go for it. I'm going to hate saying this. Pastel misting, for those of you who do fantasy color and it washes out and fades out, you know we can tell the difference, okay? Don't say your faded ass color is the trend right now and that's the pastel misting. No, that's faded out color. You need to refresh it. Purposefully coloring your hair with pastel tones versus walking around with faded fantasy color looks similar, but it is not. Okay? It is very, very different. It is not the same, but different. It looks similar, but it couldn't be more different. So you got to be very, very careful with that. But when done correctly, it looks really, really cool. Here's something that, here's a fun one, especially on blondes. Especially on blondes. Have a couple of streaks of some pastel colors. You know, blondes get very nervous for putting lowlights in their hair. Well, okay, you got 2 thoughts on that. Some blondes get nervous from putting lowlights in their hair because they don't want to lose the level of blondes. There are other blondes that get nervous about putting lowlights in their hair because there's nothing for it to really grab onto. There's no base for it to grab onto. So it starts fading out. And then, excuse me, and then it looks brassy in the hair. And that kills the blonde. If you have blonde and you're nervous about playing with it, but you want to do something different, pastel misting works really, really nicely for that as well, too. Okay. They're calling this one iced espresso brunette. Now, my favorite way of doing this is to use an ashy brown color in level 5 or 6. Do the new growth touch up the base color, right? Any outgrowth or roots, however you want to refer to it, it's new growth. Don't pull it through. Let the color through the midshaft and the ends purposefully, naturally start lighting up. And as it starts to lighten up, after you touch up the new growth area, with your hands, just grab random pieces and pull it through. I'm basically saying to balayage the hair, okay? But you're doing it very, very purposefully. You're doing it through the framing area. You're doing it at the high point of the head, right above the ears. You're grabbing a small section like that. You're grabbing a couple of pieces throughout the corners of the nape area of the crown and then the center of the crown too. So all in all, you're only grabbing about 4 to 5 pieces. You're not grabbing that many pieces, right? The nice thing about that is it refreshes slightly. So you'll have a couple of darker streaks going through the naturally lighting up version of the same formula. It gives it a highlighted look and it gives it a dimensional look without doing anything. Best way I could describe it is my wife, Carmelina, she drinks coffee. You know, everybody in her family is a coffee drinkers. And when I'm sitting there at the table, after dinner, we're having coffee. I look inside the cup, and when they're stirring it, I can see the different tones of the coffee. Like as it starts to settle, it starts to thin out on the top, so that color lightens up. And then when they stir it, it just brings, whatever is starting to settle, it brings it back up, so it makes it nice and full again, and then just gives it this beautiful marbled effect, this marbling look. And I think that's absolutely gorgeous when it's done on the hair correctly. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. There is nothing better than seeing a brunette with multi-dimensional tones and finding out that it's all just one simple color. Again, I said it earlier, simple is best. Sometimes the simplest things in life is the easiest things in life. So that's the fun thing about that. All right. Talking about, all of these ideas about the styles and toning and things like that, there has been this big push in the toning world. It's not something I necessarily agree with personally, but I understand it. Okay. I do understand it. The market is so overly saturated with ideas. There are 101 different ways to achieve the same look. There are so many options and products out there. Excuse me. It's really, that oversaturation is really messing people up in a way that it's hard to decide what is the right time to formulate and mix your toner the right way. So now everybody is out there on the forums and in classes saying, is there just one go-to universal toner? And everyone's like, oh, yeah. Use this. I don't necessarily, again, I personally do not agree that there is one universal toner out there for everything. But again, I understand the need and the necessity for everybody to have one. The only one, as I'm listening to everybody say this all the time, where's my bottle? The only one I could really accept as a universal toner would be a 9V. Okay. A level 9 violet base would be the only one I can kind of accept and shrug it off and say, yeah, okay, that works. I just Again, because I'm an all nutrient user, that's why I just happen to have a bottle of Keratin. And the reason why I'm using Keratin as my liquid toner over any other liquid toner is because of all nutrients technology. It's just the oxidative pigment. There's no direct dye mixed in. So it's just a pure base, pure tone base, level 9 violet. Okay. What's interesting about using a level 9 instead of a level 10, everyone wants to save the lightness in the hair. You painstakingly have highlighted the hair and you finally got it nice and blonde. Yeah, okay, fine, great. Now you're like, oh my God, that's so bright. That's perfect. That's the exact brightness I wanted. I need to retain this level of brightness. Therefore, I'm going to use a level 10 and I just want to knock out the warmth. When you get that light, all there is contributing pigment. A level 10 is highly dependent on the porosity. And if the hair's in a good condition, if you did your job right, if you lighten that hair nicely enough, then the porosity will be balanced out and you'll be fine. A level 10 will work. But more times than not, when you lighten somebody's hair that light, their hair is messed up. Okay, that porosity is off. It's going to be thirsty. It needs replenishment. Level 10 doesn't have enough in it to do that. Not that, a level 9 has more. Level 8 would be ideal, but then level 8 does start getting dark. So that's where your trade-off comes in. A level 9 toner has just enough pigment to restore something back into that hair to protect it. And having that pure violet base is what's going to protect the hair from, it's going to eliminate the brassiness at that brighter level because now you've got a pure yellow contributing pigment. You got that pure yellow base, okay? If there's any orange in the hair at all, then you need to use the level 8. That's the only way you're going to knock out that blonde, that brassiness to get that perfect blonde. So 9V works out really, really nicely. Personally, what I like about using a toner 9V on people is, on fresh highlights, that makes the most sense. Okay, fine. But if a client comes in, if a blonde comes in and they're just coming in for a haircut or a blow dry or something, if you're going to take them back to the shampoo bowl to wash their hair, spend an extra minute and just run a toner through. There's no rule that says you can't get your hair toned every week or every time. You could do it as many times as you want. That's the difference with a toner versus coloring, okay? The purpose of a toner is to replenish, correct, rebalance, refill lost pigmentation, okay? And condition in the hair as well, too. And it's going to put that coating over the hair shaft. It's going to protect it better. It's going to give it more shine, more gloss, more sheen, however you want to refer to it as. There is all the benefits in there. And you're maintaining that perfect color. So the next time you come in for your touch-up to redo your color again, it's balanced out. It's totally, totally fine. So that's the interesting thing about it. Now, that's where 9V comes in. When you're mixing it with your developer, you want deposit only. You want like a 1.6 or 1.9%. You want a gentle developer to activate this color. You do not want any lift. You don't want any additional. You don't want like 3% or 4%. There is no need. If the hair is already that light to begin with, you're not going to create any more lifting movement out of it. All you're doing is just blasting the cuticle that much more than it already is, which helps nobody in the long run. It helps absolutely nobody in the end. So there really is no reason to doing that, okay? As so far as how long to leave it on, understand this. Everybody gets scared to leave toners for a long time onto the hair. Most people leave it on for about a minute or two. Every 1 minute toner is sitting on the hair equals one shampoo. That's how long it's going to last. If your client only washes their hair once a week, then it's not a problem. You leave it on for 2 minutes, it'll last for 2 weeks easily. But most women wash their hair every other day or every third day, okay? And I'm going on the average. I'm just saying by average. Well, then that toner is only going to last for 1 week. Their toners are supposed to sit on for 15 to 20 minutes. That is the processing time of a toner. That sounds scary because everybody's afraid of the color getting too dark, progressively getting too dark. But in that statement lies the answer. If you are afraid that the color progressively is getting too dark, that means that toner does not have a pure base to it. It's not a 100% oxidative dye. There is something else in there, and you need to reevaluate your situation, okay? And that's where, like personally, in my opinion, brands like All Nutrient and especially Keratint works out really, really nicely because I never have that concern. I never have that worry that oh my God, I left it on too long, or I didn't get to it fast enough, and I'm going to lose all my lightness, or I'm going to lose my tonal value whatsoever out of it. So that's just not a thing. At least not for this brand in particular. It's just not a thing. So to recap, a level 9 violet base toner is the only toner that I personally can accept. I still don't agree with it 100%, but I understand the need for getting that one-stop thing. It's just, especially in the moment when you're running behind schedule, or if something happens and you goof and you're like, oh, I'm so nervous, I don't know what to do. The real answer is you got to really look at your contributing pigment chart and figure out what's going on. It's not a one-stop shop for everybody, but it works. It's a safe option that works more times than not. The few times that it doesn't work, those are the times where it hurts. But you're not going to do any bad. You can't overtone with it, or you can't mess up the blonde. You can always go back in and correct over it. So I guess that's why it's very popular. All right. As far as motivation goes this week, something interesting that I've been watching is these cup challenges. They put a row of cups, and then they have two people race each other to see who can collect all the cups the fastest. And they have it where one person starts from the front of the row, and they start stacking up their cups. And as they get to the back, they have to start running back and forth. And then the other person is running all the way to the back and grabbing that first cup and running it back. Now, when you're watching this in the beginning, the person who is grabbing the cups from the front, obviously they're in the lead because they're grabbing all the cups that are right there and they're stacking them right there. So obviously they have a lead. And then it's fascinating because halfway through, all of a sudden you see that the person who was in the lead still has a commanding lead. And you're looking at the other person who's running all the way to the back of the line, coming back, running back to the back of the line, coming back. They only have like 3-4 cups in, and then the guy in the other row has like 10 cups already stacked. The magic doesn't happen until you start getting towards the end, about 3/4 until the end. That's when the magic starts to happen. The person who was running all the way to the back, now they're working their way forward. So as they're getting towards the middle, towards the front, they're not moving anymore. But the person who started in the front, having to run back and forth, is now doing all that extra work. It comes down to the lesson learned behind all of that is the fatigue. You burned yourself out. You start off, when you're starting on a project, you start off with a certain amount of energy. The longer you're running through that project, fatigue is going to set in. It is inevitable. So then it just becomes a mental strength game. How hard can you mentally push yourself to physically continue on? It's something that the Marine Corps talk about, is that 30%, that 30% reserve, okay? Naturally, the human body on average, uses up to 70% of its total energy. And then it starts sending the signals of fatigue and that it's done. It just wants to go into rest mode. Because if you used the full 100% of your energy, you'd be in total failure. You would just collapse. Well, in the Marine Corps, they teach you to dig deep down into that 30%, that final push, that final burst of energy, to use everything you've got, because that is the difference between you and everybody else. That is the difference between living and dying. That's the difference between winning and losing, however you want to say it, okay? Success and failure. When you're so close, when you're so close. The cup challenge is popular right now on social media, so that's why I'm mentioning that one in particular to show everybody. It is okay to put in hard work up front because you are setting yourself up for the middle towards the end of the project that you're working on. That proper planning, that proper approach, that proper mindset, that, God, I've just started this thing and I'm already doing this much labor. I'm already doing this much work. Yeah, you just started. There is no gradually working your way up into the heavy stuff, unless you're doing weightlifting, I guess. I don't know. But when you're starting a project, knock out the big stuff, okay? Start thinking of how you're going to tackle the big stuff. And then make a plan and see where you could start setting the building blocks to get to the end. So when you're halfway through and you're starting to get tired, the harder stuff has already been thought about and taken care of. Now you're just cleaning up the little knickknack stuff. I mean, if you think about it, we do the same thing for our haircuts, for our styling, for our color. Generally speaking, when we're doing a haircut, we go in and we establish the design line. We establish our weight line. And then we go in and we layer and we detail afterwards at the end. The hardest part is getting the style set up. When we're doing hair color, generally speaking, we start at the back of the head. Why? There's the most amount of hair back there, and then it's all in the way. And we usually start from the bottom, work our way up because there's so much hair. It's just easier to pick all the hair up, start from the bottom, lay it down, start from the bottom, lay it down. When you start from the top, you got to push all this hair up and over and get it out of the way so you can get underneath it. Okay. I mean, that's just a quick analogy. You know, when we're blow drying, we hand toss the hair first. We power dry the hair first to remove a lot of the moisture. We don't just go in with our round brush. Well, if you are, you shouldn't be doing this. But when your hair is sopping wet, dripping wet, don't just go in with your round brush and the blow dryer and start blow drying. It's going to take you forever and you're going to destroy your hair, right? That's why we go in and we eliminate a lot of the existing moisture first. And then after it's damp, after it's 50% dry to about 70% dry, then we go in and we start locking in volume and fullness and the style and everything else. When we're doing updos, when we're doing the curls, we get the curls set up at the base. And then we worry about the ends. We build the foundation for an updo. And then we go in and we piece it out and we detail it. All of these things, tackle the hardest part of your project first. Think about what you need to do to set everything up for your project that you're working on, no matter what it is you're doing. Get the planning part of it is the hardest part. Get that out of the way. And sometimes if there is some heavy lifting involved at whatever degree, while you're still fresh, while you still have good energy, try to tackle that too. So then you can start relaxing. As you start getting tired, you can start relaxing, and then you can just start cleaning up whatever's left over. It's a nice, easy, fun way to do it, okay? And it all starts mental. Physical fatigue is a thing, and you should pay attention to your body, okay? But if you are not mentally strong, your body will become lazy and get tired sooner than it should be. So sometimes some of your physical fatigue is not just you exerting energy. Sometimes you are psyching yourself out and your body's just responding to it too. So that's the advice. That's the lesson that I got. That's the motivation that I got for you this week. That's what I'm going with. Think about it this way. Everybody says I'm so energetic all the time, right? Well, with the type of the insomnia that I have, I am exhausted. I am utterly exhausted. Physically, I am tired. And I can sit down and pass out. I'm awake in freaking 10 minutes anyways. But, the point is I am so physically exhausted all the time. Yet I know I've got a 13-hour day ahead of me, 14-hour day ahead of me some days. Most days it's 12, and the point is, if I'm already defeated in my first hour, dude, there's no way I'm going to make it for the next 11 or 12. So mental, it's all mental. You have to be strong. You have to be strong. You have to have, this given attitude of I rule the world. You rule your own personal world, and you could do whatever the hell you want because it's your world. Okay. Obviously within the rules and within reason, don't be going out there being a jerk, but you get what I'm talking about. All right. So that's what I got for you this week. We're at the end of our hour. I'm going to go drink some more water. I am thirsty. I got to go teach another class right now. Thank you all for watching. If you have any questions, you have any comments, let us know. I love reading them. And we'll catch you guys next week.
The SFTB podcast was not recorded in front of a live studio audience, so thanks for joining us for today's episode. If our hair topics made you smile, give us a thumbs up. Drop your thoughts in the comments. We'll read them while waiting for our caller to process. Share this video with your stylists and friends. It helps us make a difference, one strand at a time. And don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss an episode. Because your hair deserves all the latest and greatest tips.